Hey, good morning, guys. This is Randy at Bmore Photography. How y'all doing? I'm here at Hanlon Park. Today what I'm going to try to do is do a few video clips, show you the process for getting set up for video, the settings I use for video, and then we're going to go ahead and take it back into my software, Pinnacle Studio Ultimate, and do a quick color grade on it. This will not be a full-blown video edit, but it is going to show you how to shoot 10-bit log color and how to take that into a software and color grade it and show you that it does have a lot of rich color once you take it back in the software. Anyway, with no further ado, let's go ahead and get the drone up in the air and see what we can do with that. All right, cool. It's a pretty bright day out here today, so I'm going to go ahead and put an ND filter. I'm going to use an ND16. I mean, I don't have like any real formula, but we're going to try to shoot it. It's 1/60th today. We're going to shoot at 30 frames a second, so my goal frame rate is 1/60th. Obviously, with this kind of sun, it'll be way too slow to get a right exposure. So when you put an ND filter on, it reduces the amount of light that goes into the camera lens and will allow us to change the shutter speed down to perhaps good enough to get it to go. So, you know, I have other filters. We're going to start with 16 and see how that goes. If in fact that is not the right one, we will change that later and adjust from there. But I think we should be fine. In fact, that we can adjust our aperture with this drone as well. It'll give us an opportunity to also change the shutter speed by doing that. Anyway, cool. Let's go ahead and get ready to go here. We have the filling on. We're going to clean it off with a cloth. And we're going to get it up in the air. Thanks. Okay, with the birds up in the air right now, we are able to go ahead and get our settings correct so we can start flying and do the 10-bit color. So we've already set the setting to H.265 to allow us to do that. The other settings we're looking at right now, we're going to go ahead and shoot at 4K, 30 frames per second. MP4 is my format. You can shoot in MOV as well if you're an Apple user. We're going to do a manual exposure mode. The aperture, we're going to see where that goes. I want to shoot at 1/60th right now. I'm going to keep the ISO at 100 right now. The other thing you need to change is the color mode from none to log. You will see it go white washed out. It looks really bland right now, but that's the point of log. You'll be able to color it up when we go into the color grading process. Okay, so we're all set for this, except now we are 1.7 stops underexposed, which is a little too underexposed. So at this point, what we can do there is lower the f-stop some. And right now we're at 0 EV, so we're probably good to go. All right, so at this point, let's go ahead and start taking some video, and we'll see what we do with that and get some files so we can go ahead and color them up back in Pinnacle Studio. Now you can see the colors are very washed out on the screen. That's the log. It looks really white and very not cool until you actually go in and color. But once you get in there, you have a lot more ability. I guess it's the equivalent of a raw file in photography, where if you shoot in a log format, you have more ability to manipulate the file later. And I can guarantee you when we take it back into Pinnacle, the colors will be fine. Even though you're seeing it now, you're not really seeing it. Now, if you go to none, you're going to go ahead and see a lot more of what you have in the scene, but you're not going to be able to color grade it as hard, only because you won't have as much leeway. You won't be shooting in 10-bit color anymore. All right, cool. We're back here at the computer. This morning we were at Hanlon Park. We shot some video with our drone. We put an ND16 filter on the drone, and we set up for shooting 10-bit log color. We went into the main setting, set up H.265, which is required to shoot in 10-bit log. We went in, we shot 4K, 30 frames per second. Again, you cannot shoot 60 frames per second and still maintain 10-bit log. So we shot 4K 30 frames a second. Our shutter speed was 1/60th of a second. We went ahead and changed our aperture down according to the light. We shot in color log mode. What I've done now is open up my software, Pinnacle Studio Ultimate. I have created a new project bin called Color Grade and dropped today's files into the bin. What we're going to do now is drop in 2 of the video files we shot this morning and color grade them real quickly to just show you the ability the software has to color grade and to actually turn those bland log files into something that's pretty colorful and a lot more powerful than it would be if you hadn't shot in log. So as you can see here, here's one of the files we shot. It was the takeoff file. If we just play a few seconds of that, we'll see it as it was shot out of the drone. Again, it's not like it's going to be once we color it. It's just pretty basic, pretty bland. But it does have some color to it. It doesn't look as washed out as it does in the screen when you're shooting it, but it's still not to its full capability. So in Pinnacle Studio Pro, you have a full editing suite here. We're going to go to the editor tab here, open up the editing processes, which has a bunch of stuff we can do. You can do the normal where you could go ahead and change the size and position of the video, certain corrections for aspect ratio and such, but we're going to go into the color grading section, which is actually the main editing section of the software, which will allow us to change exposure, vibrance, saturation, and all such, and also add the color LUT. The LUT, or lookup table as they are referred to, is a color science. It is a algorithm that will color up the files that you use them on. There are lots of LUTs out there. I just purchased the 5-day deal video bundle, and a bunch of LUTs came with that, where some of these ones you're seeing in here came from. As you know, Autel does provide a LUT for us with the Evo 2 6K Pro and the 8K drone. That LUT is downloadable directly from the Autel drone site under their technical support under the Evo 2. So you want to go ahead and download that LUT file, and if your software has the ability to use LUT, you'll be able to apply it here. So in this software, the applying of the LUT just goes right here on the LUT profile. You'll see any LUT you have used or added into your system, and right now this Evo 2 Pro Analog 2 RIC 709 Cube is the LUT file from the Autel site. You see above it I have Evo 2 Custom. That's their log file that their LUT file that I have created a little adjustment to, that I also apply sometimes right out of the box. So just clicking that will apply the LUT file, and bam, right there. You see a big difference between the greens, the blues, the sky immediately. Just one click and you have made a big change. So there, that is without a LUT attached to it, and then here you go. If you add the LUT file, immediately you have a greater starting point. So look at that. So from right there, you went from a totally washed out file to where you have the colors. So that is basically color grading. From here, you can also go ahead and push things differently. You have a vibrance slider, just like you do in Lightroom or other video editing software, which you can increase the color in the lightness area. Saturation is overall saturation, which you want to be careful when you push that. You can overdo it with the files, make them look a little overdone. Clarity and Haze, similar sliders that you see in Lightroom and other video editing softwares. Has other effects as well you can do here. But you can see the main thing is basically you go from a raw file, the log file, which is bland as can be, and you just add a LUT, and you will get a big difference in the file. So the other one we did was, we'll look at real quick, was the overhead shot we did. And if we look at that for a second, we'll play that as is. And you can see it's got some color to it, but not really great. So let's go ahead and stop that right quick. We'll go ahead and just add the LUT right away. And you can see right there, look how much difference that made in the tones, the blues, the greens, the grass, the browns, all of it. So if I just go ahead and I'll do it again for kicks and giggles, you turn it off. Bam, that's your file uncorrected. And here it is with the Autel LUT applied. So you can see right there you have a greater starting point. Of course, from there you can continue to edit the file, push the colors, change the exposure if need be. So you have a fair amount of range. That in a nutshell is color grading. Of course, there's a lot more in-depth information to do with that. But the idea of this video was to show you shoot-in log file, bring it into a software that has the ability to use LUTs, use the Evo 2 Pro LUT, and see how that comes out. And as you see, it makes a big difference right off the bat, and you have a lot more play in the file that you can do with now. Hope this was of some value to you. If it is, please hit me up with a like. If not, feel free to give me a dislike, but rather than just a dislike, I would prefer a comment as to what you thought you disliked about it so that I can make improvements in the future. Just a thumbs down isn't very helpful when you know no reason for it. So I welcome the criticism if necessary, and please, if you could, just elaborate to what you thought was a thumbs down worthy attempt. Anyway, appreciate it. We'll see you soon again. Take care. This is Randy at Bmore Photography signing off for now. Have a great weekend, guys.